Everybody, welcome to another edition of Boston Straight Shooters. Your host Frank here with you. I'm not even going by Swami anymore because not last week, but the week before. Yeah, my picks was horrible. Last week, my picks would have been great if I had picked them. But anyway, thank you for watching the show. It's called Boston Straight Shooters. I'm with my co-host Steve, also known as Negative Nev, and Kev, who's not known as nothing yet because we're gonna work on that nickname. How you guys doing? How's everything?
What's happening?
Good, Frank. How you doing?
All right, so we're gonna jump into the show. I haven't been here in 2 weeks. You guys did a show without me, which is great that you did that to keep that up. But let's first jump into listen. We got the show. If you're not familiar with the show, we talk about the Boston Celtics, the Boston Red Sox, the Boston Bruins, and the New England Patriots. The week I missed, the Patriots announced Drake Maye was coming in. Obviously, the Boston Bruins had played some more games. They started in. The Celtics were beginning preseason, and the Bruins were beginning preseason. Did I say? And the Red Sox was winding down their season. So let's get the Red Sox out of the way real quick. Just talk one thing about the Red Sox. Even though there's nothing really new about the Red Sox, we just want to honor Louis Tiant, who passed away. And Kev, I know you are old like me and Steve. Just give your Louis Tiant favorite memory if you have one, and Steve, you give me one of your Louis Tiant favorite memories if you have one. You know, about going to the Red Sox game and any of those things, and we'll move on from the Red Sox. Kev, you go first. What's your thought?
I was a fan. I was a fan of his. That when I felt like when I got older, I wanted to have a goatee like his. I loved his goatee.
He didn't say anything baseball related, Steve. He went his goatee.
I'm just saying. You said my fondest memory.
Okay, all right.
That was my fondest memory. Thinking about that dude. I liked him. I was a fan of the Red Sox forever, but Louis Tiant, he was just. I just liked his stature and that goatee was smooth.
Sorry. Okay. Steve, you want to jump in before I do? You got a favorite memory of Louis Tiant?
I have two real quick. One, obviously, the pirouette thing when he would pitch. I remember 1977, 78 when he was here. Those are the years when we were young kids watching him. I was very, very fortunate at one time in my early 20s to meet him. Nicest guy in the world. My friend Larry Hill, wanted to meet him forever and didn't get an opportunity, but just an absolute legend in Red Sox history. And if his number's not retired up there, maybe they will, because I think he deserves it.
Right. My favorite memory is I went to the Red Sox game a long time ago, and he was pitching against the Yankees, and he beat the Yankees. And I remember Fred Lynn ran out there. I think it was Fred Lynn ran out and caught the last pitch. It was my first game, I think, first one I definitely can remember. And Fred Lynn caught out the last. And at the time, I didn't realize that the bigs would all come in, with the outfield, and everybody would get out from the where all the people were coming out and you got to see all the players that came on the field at the same time. It may sound really corny, but that was my favorite moment because Louis Tiant stood there and shook everyone's hand and acknowledged everyone and was saying, saying like, good job. You could see him wording them out, good job. And I was like, why is he telling them good job? And my dad told me he's like, at the time, he was saying to me that it's a I think it's how I started understanding it's a team sport. He was saying he couldn't do what he did if he didn't have the people in the outfield helping him get the outs. And I was like, oh, that's what he meant, And I was really young. I must have been, I don't even know. I was 5, 6. I was around that time, But I still remember that. That was my favorite Louis Tiant moment. I'm sad that he didn't get a chance to win the World Series as a Red Sox. I don't think he ever won the World Series.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. But it's really sad because back in the 70s, I know you guys remember the Red Sox, they when it was definitely Freddie Lynn. It was oh my God, what's the kid? Carlton Fisk. It was all those guys who And do you guys remember when they went to the World Series with the Cincinnati Reds? Remember that?
Vaguely, I think I was about 8 when they went there.
Yeah, I'm 7, 8. I remember just watching that on TV, and I thought that was the year we were going to win the World Series, but obviously we didn't. You didn't win at the time, but it was exciting for me at the time.
Was that the one when Carlton
Fisk
he's waving the home run?
He's waving.
Game 6,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Fred Lynn at that time was my favorite player, so to see them get that far and then not win, it was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it was. It didn't hit me as hard because I was young. I was like, okay, well, maybe they get back there soon again. And whew, was that a long time?
Actually, after watching that, 1978, that was the real killer.
Yep.
Bucky Bleeping Dent.
Yep.
That's etched in everybody's mind around here. Uh, that was when it really hit me as a Red Sox fan, the whole curse and all that nonsense. So,
Yeah.
And actually seeing him in a Yankees uniform after that was a little weird too.
Yeah, it was. It was. When it really hit me about the Red Sox and the curse was when the ball went under Bill Buckner's, you know what I mean? And he could have picked up the bag and tagged it, and we would have won the Serial Series. And I think that was Game 5.
It was Game 6, and he shouldn't have been in there. It was Game 6. He shouldn't have been in there. Dave Stapleton should have been in there, but John McNamara had a case of the warm and fuzzies and screwed it all up. So, trust me, I was the only one in my house. Everybody else was gone. And I was sitting in a chair and I was watching it. I was like this close to the TV, and I was ready to leap out of my chair. And that thing happened, and I was like, "That's it. They did."
Yeah, because they lost that game and the next one after that, and everybody else knows that that was history. But anyway, that's our Louis Tiant moment. That's the Boston Red Sox moment. Now I think we need to move.
Wait a second. One thing real quick that just came through is just. We know how bad their defense was all year long, right? They were like near the bottom, if not last, in errors all year long. They actually had two guys nominated for Gold Glove awards, Jaron Duran and William Abreu, the right fielder. I could see Duran for sure being nominated for a Gold Glove. His defense improved, remarkably over the last 2 years. He was, not perfect, but I mean, way, way better. And I'm just surprised that those guys got any consideration at all, considering how bad they were as a team throughout the whole year. So I just want to mention that to acknowledge them, because that's probably the last good news we're going to get for a while until next year.
Okay, so
sorry.
Going back to what I was saying, which I lost my train of thought. I'm thinking that we need to discuss the Patriots, what we were talking about the week before, leading up to the Drake Maye situation, and Drake Maye obviously getting the start. And the thought, I missed the show last week, and I think at the end of the day, we need to discuss what your thought, both of you guys' train of thoughts was before when he got announced as a starter, and then we're going to talk about the weekend's game. So, Kev, I'll go with you first. Drake Maye was announced as a starter last Wednesday before the game, and I think there was a lot that went into it myself personally on him being named as a starter. Tell me your thought process leading up to the game when you heard that Drake Maye was named as a starter. What was your thought process?
When I first heard it, I thought that not a good idea, because we should kind of save him, protect him from getting hurt out there, because like we were saying, the line is so terrible. He's going to go out there and have no time to throw. They're going to crush him. Hopefully they don't hurt him too bad to where he can't recover. But I understand why they would put him out there. I mean, all these other young QBs are out there playing and getting their reps and, taking some lumps and learning something in the process. So, I mean, I understand, the method behind the madness, but I still kind of think that we ain't doing anything this year. We're not going to be in any type of contention. So why put him out there just to, get hurt with, we're not going to see what he can really do, because we don't have the tools that he needs. So I don't know. I say leave it alone.
Okay, well, that was your thought process before the game. So we'll talk about what your thought process is after the game in a second. Steve, what was your thought process when he got announced as the starter for the week leading up to the game with Houston? What was your thought process at that time, if you can recall?
Oh, I can recall because I have my notes here from last week. So listen, there's a couple things. First of all, we wanted him to sit as long as possible because we didn't want him to get hurt or get killed with that awful offensive line. All right, but then when they announced him as the starter, these are the things I asked Kev last week. How many times, and I'll ask you this now, Kev, Frank, how many times do we have to watch Jacoby Brissett throw for 32 yards and a half?
Mm-hmm.
How many times do we have to watch him throw for 130 yards in a game?
Mm-hmm.
Can we see a Patriots QB throw for at least 200 yards in a game? Can we see them get at least 20 points in a game? So when they made the decision, I'm like, okay, he gives them a better chance at all those because it's not working. So I wrote here, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I'm going to ask you this. Do you think the Patriots offense was working under Jacoby Brissett?
Well,
yes or no question, because I have a follow-up after that.
No, obviously no. Obviously no.
All right, so that brings me to what I said next. When things don't work, they need to be changed. And so we didn't want Drake Maye to get hit and get hurt and all this stuff. But you know what? It's a contact sport. If you don't want to get hit, then go play golf.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to get in there. And to Kev just said it. The other guys are playing. The kids in Chicago, Washington, C.J. Stroud last year. Listen, you're never going to find out you're never going to find out if he has any tools or any intangibles. In North Carolina, his offensive line was not probably as bad as this, but it wasn't perfect either. And the guy threw for 3,000 yards and a bunch of touchdowns. I mean, you got to put it at this point. The offense needs a spark. So my thought process is, we have no choice. We have to put him in.
Yeah, that was the thought process at the time of having to put him in. You guys probably don't know, but I put it on social media the week before the game. We have absolutely nothing to lose by putting him in. We already were the worst team in football, especially with moving the ball. We were 31 out of 32 in the offense. We were bottom 25 in defense. We were definitely the 32nd team in moving the ball, whether in passing yards or rushing the ball. Overall offense, we was horrible. So at the time, my thought process was, you know what? We have nothing to lose. Why not put him in? I understand Kev's thought. Believe me, I was where Kev's mind was 3 weeks ago, wanting to sit him down. That's what my thought process was. But I didn't see the Patriots at the time getting so bad that they were putting up 1977, 1973 numbers on offense. I just didn't see that. And honestly, it was despicable for me to see. Now let's fast forward. Let's go to, obviously, the game. The game comes out. The Patriots played. Let me give you my thought process, and then you guys can go into your thought process, because I watched the game. I didn't watch it live, but I watched the game on repeat. It was different watching the game when you know the outcome. I got to say that up front. So I started watching the game knowing what to look for and what not to look for, and what to be excited about, what not to be excited about. My immediate takeaway right now is I'm slightly optimistic on where the Patriots are going, because number one, they scored 21 points. Number two, you could tell that they were misfiring and making mistakes because there was a lot of moving parts. And they were trying to get used to the quarterback, the cadence, moving the ball, certain things like that. So overall, before I even dive more deep into that, my overall thought process of watching Drake Maye play, I was slightly optimistic. I was upset that they lost the game. But then I thought about a couple of things. I don't know if either one of you guys remember this, but when Tom Brady came in the game at the halftime of the game, they lost that game. He played horrible that game. The very next game he came in, they won that game. And if you all guys remember, the next game after that was the Colts, and we were expected to get smoked. You know what I mean? Because that was Brady's next game in. Everybody thought they were going to lose by 30 or 40. And I don't really want to compare Drake Maye to Tom Brady. And I just wanted to compare one thing about guys coming off the bench and playing. That's the only reason why I'm using this example. Because when you're playing with the team in the first team offense, you haven't practiced all week with the first team offense. And then once you practice and then you get into a game rep, it's different now because you're firing all cylinders. So I'm a little optimistic on that, because I see a lot of potential in the arm. I see a lot of potential in him running the ball. I see a lot of potential with the offense. I'm just sad with the coach, definitely the play calling. I didn't like the play calling. I didn't like the execution of the defense. I just was, overall, I was more optimistic than I was pessimistic. They have something to build off of, but that was my immediate takeaway. Steve, I'm gonna let you go next. What's your immediate takeaway after you watch the game, Drake Maye's performance, the Patriots' performance overall, offense performance, defense performance? Just go down the list. Tell me what your takeaway is right now from that.
The first thing I'm going to say is, when's the last time a Patriots quarterback threw a 40-yard bomb for a touchdown?
Oh, God, can't even remember. I think it was Tom Brady.
The whole offense for 2 years has been devoid of any long plays. We talked about it early in the year. No wide receivers going down the field. So that, to me, right there, and you know what? From where they started from their own 16-yard line on that drive with 59 seconds left. So that was in a pressure cooker situation, and maybe Houston took their foot off the gas a smidge. But still, those guys had to make those plays. We thought Kayshon Boutte was a bust. That dude could fly.
Yeah.
So that was first. And we said it too, that Maye would make plays with his arm and make throws with his arm that Brissett can't make. And it's not Brissett's fault. I'm not dumping on him. I just think that, I was excited to see him make some plays, make some throws, and, the receivers around him, getting the ball. The line, obviously, still a mess. 3 new starters in there, and they had a right tackle, left tackle, both brand new. The center was brand new. They grabbed him Thursday from the Raiders practice squad, right? And then the left guard got hurt low, right?
Hold on, Steve.
And
Hold on, Steve. Kev, you might have to go back and come back out. We'll bring you back in.
I don't know why it's doing that. Okay.
Steve, take him out. Keep going, Steve.
I'll take him out. We'll put him back in a second.
Yeah.
He's ready. All right. So overall, disappointed with the defense. Wicked bad. I mean, the offensive play calling. Look, let me. Okay, I'm going to go on a mini rant here for a second because I'm wicked pissed off at the NFL for missing that face mask. All right, it didn't lose them the game, right? But it definitely changed some of the momentum. They could have had a 15-yard penalty and been at like 40-yard line near midfield instead of starting back at their own 16 or whatever, getting strip sacked. That pissed me the hell off. And the reason it pissed me off is because now they have this thing where the NFL can go to like the league office and they can review stuff and instantly overturn it. And in that case, they didn't overturn it. They didn't go to the special third wheel referee, special guest guy. They just laughed it off and moved on. Now, the commentator, the secondary, the play-by-play guy there,
he was terrible.
He mentioned that Trent Green did mention that the call was missed. But you know what? I'm wicked pissed that happened and they fumbled on the next play. Now, I'll go back to the defense for a second. First drive, march right down the field, touchdown. Maye throws an interception, march right down the field, touchdown. I mean, missed tackles, missed assignments, just, poor game plan. I don't know what they, and again, you got new guys in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you got, Mapu's wearing the green dot now and he's calling the plays. He's not used to that. There's some adjustments going on there, but I think that, I'm encouraged by Drake Maye. We want to see a QB throw for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Look, he's going to turn the ball over. Everybody that's expecting him to throw for 3 touchdowns and no turnovers, no interceptions every week, just get that out of your head because it's going to happen. Right? It's just a matter of how going forward he can minimize them. Right? Fumbling the ball, that wasn't his fault. The freaking right tackle the guy went around him like he was an orange pylon, like a cone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, they definitely need to do a way better job defensively, which was supposed to be the strength of the team. And I understand, the injuries we've had with, no Barmore, no Bentley, Judon's gone. So some of the leaders and some of the star players, so to speak, not too many teams can miss 3 or 4 guys on defense that start the way that those guys do and survive. But I'm just encouraged that they at least put 20 points on the board. And when they play teams like Jacksonville and some other teams that are in kind of the same boat as them, they have winnable games. And again, not that they're going to win 6 games or 8 games or 10 games, but can they stay close with the Jets? Can they stay close with Jacksonville? Can they stay close with some of those other teams and maybe get some wins and, look more like a representative NFL team instead of the way they've been going, because it's getting ugly and it's not getting better. That's a problem.
The problem is that Kevin, I'm gonna throw it to you in a second, but the problem is number one reason why I said coaching was the problem is because I haven't seen the Patriots be this undisciplined in a very long time. There were so many flags. The game ran way longer than most NFL games because they kept calling so many flags on. Not necessarily mostly on both teams, but they called an unusual amount of flags.
9 on the Patriots. 9 on the Patriots.
Not
That's a lot.
Not as many as they did the other night. And I was watching that other game, but it's a lot of hell.
They had 12 the week before, Frank. They get a lot. There's a lot of that has to be cleaned up. You're right.
Yeah. So that's why my number one issue right now is the play calling and the discipline of the Patriots. Because if the team is overall disciplined, they're not getting penalties, as you know, Kev, with the team going backwards instead of trying to go forwards. Matter of fact, Kev, I'm sure you remember a lot of times when the Patriots used to move the ball a lot because the other teams was undisciplined, and you were giving Tom Brady another chance at a first down. Kev, what's your thought process on the game after Drake Maye's play, after Drake Maye's coming in, and after the play calling of the coaching, and after just the overall principality. That's my ghetto word of the day. The principality of them looking so undisciplined. What's your thought process, Ken?
I think he gives us a glimmer of hope for the future. Nothing from right now. I mean, again, protect him. If he's going to be that guy that you're going to put in there to cover us for now, because Brissett is not doing it, fine, just protect this dude. You get him some help on the freaking line before he does really get tore up. And, I think that they're probably in a position where they can weed out some of the people that were disheartened in the locker room, get them out of there and get some new blood in there, make a couple of trades, and maybe we could be kind of in contention for a wild card spot or something, maybe. But
all right, well, here's a question.
This year.
Here's a question for you, Kev. I've been hearing a lot on Sports Talk Radio. A lot of people are complaining about Alex Van Pelt with the play calling and things like that, because his play calling, even one of the Patriots players, I think it was Butte, came out and said we need to push the ball downfield. In the wake of the Jets firing Saleh, should the Patriots consider, Kev, in your opinion, should they consider at least putting Van Pelt on the hot seat if they're not pushing the ball down the field? In your thought process, should they consider at least looking at him, whether or not for job security, or do you think because I'll tell you what I think right now, but you go first, Kev.
Yeah, I think they should. I don't think any of those guys have a job secure that they should just sit there and say, I'm good. No. Him especially.
Right. So I'm gonna throw it to you, Steve. Same question. Do you think Van Pelt should be on the hot seat now, or do you think they should wait a couple of games now because they got Drake Maye in the seat now? And just tell me what your thought process is on right now.
Let me just say what Gerard Mayo said. Everybody's being evaluated every week, so it depends on how they progress or regress offensively. If they go back to scoring 13 points a game and they can't run the ball, and May's getting croaked and making a bunch of turnovers, and they're losing 27-13 or whatever, then he's on the hot seat. But if they're consistently, can they get between 17 and 30 points? Not 30 points, but can they stay in the 17 to 24 range weekly and stay in a game? What's the running game look like? No Stevenson this past week. That hurts big time. And again, the questionable calls offensively. They have to progress. If they progress and it looks better, then he stays. And I don't know who else you would get. I heard some rumblings that they'd move him upstairs and then make Bob McAdoo the offensive coordinator. I don't know. I just think that, we have to play it week by week and see how those guys do. I think it's going to look better because if you think about it, Butte caught that 40-yard pass. Pop Douglas caught a 35-yard pass. He hit Hunter Henry in the end zone. He hit Hunter Henry on another play. I mean, he can get these guys the ball, and make some plays. I think, another couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks from now, when they're playing Jacksonville, the Jets, Tennessee, let's see how it goes, and hopefully we'll get Stevenson back so they can, hopefully they'll look better and see what happens.
I'm going to go on the record right now and say if the Patriots are not throwing the ball down the field and moving the ball and between that and mixing it up with some RPOs, if they're not doing that and they do a whole bunch of screens and doing the same thing they were doing with Jacoby Brissett, this guy needs to be fired. I'm going to go on the record. Like, I give him 2 more games because at the end of the day, you've got a guy I like the analogy they use. They use an analogy of a Ferrari. They got a Ferrari in the garage. You let the Ferrari out. And when you have a Ferrari, you still don't drive 35. You don't drive 45. When you have a Ferrari, you're looking to drive 80 or 90 and hoping nobody sees you. That's what you do. And if they keep their Ferrari in the 35 miles per hour zone, this guy needs to be fired because this kid, listen, this kid.
And you got to put Sammy Hagar behind the wheel. I can't drive 55 and hit the gas.
Whatever. I just think one thing they need to do is they need to let this guy go, let his arm rip, because he has an unnatural knack of throwing bombs and connecting them. And that's what they brought him here for in the first place. So let's see what the kid can do.
So if he did it Sunday, then and they regress it back, and he's not being able to do that, then I absolutely
that's what I'm saying.
Make a switch. That listen, I think that it's probably not Alex Van Pelt's preferred method, but I mean, you're not scaring anybody throwing screens and short yardage plays the whole game. So they have to take shots. They have to.
Every game since the Jets game, the teams that they've been playing, the Patriots, have been blitzing more than they usually do. Every single team they've played. So they know the Patriots can't handle the blitz. The only way you stop handling the blitz is if you run the ball effectively, which they're having a hard time doing. The other way to do that is you're throwing downfield 15, 20 yards, and you're scaring these guys. Like, that's the only two ways, everybody knows it, that you're going to stop these guys running because when the Jets blitzed the Patriots 15 times, the very following week, I forgot who it was, that team blitzed the Patriots 14 times.
Miami.
Yeah, thank you. So they're blitzing all this because they know the offense can't do anything. Now, May has to start using his legs, and he has to start throwing the ball. It's the only way. Running is not helping us, not getting good blocking. So what do you got to do? You got to throw the ball. So let me move into the next question that I have for you guys. Let me see this. The Patriots now are looking at the Jets coming in a couple of weeks with the brand new guy, Devontae Adams. T. Higgins' name is out there, floating out there. Patriots people are sitting around talking to discussions in coffee shops and things like that, saying, hey, the Patriots should make a trade for a wide receiver right now and see what we got, see what we can do. Kev, should the Patriots make an in-season trade like the Jets did to get Devontae Adams and like how Buffalo did to get who Buffalo get?
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper. Should they do that? Or should they just wait until the off season, in your opinion, and then make the trade then? What's your thoughts?
Wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt us. We could do that. Anything that will bolster our ammunition, I think it's a good step in that direction.
Oh, you mean weaponize the offense? You mean weaponize the offense, like Elliot Wolf said? And he used his own words against them.
I don't want to take away from the team. I'd rather give to them, give them a little something, even if it's just a little extra glimmer of hope. But again, I don't expect them to do much this year. I don't see them doing much better than how they're projected right now. But
right.
Give them a little help. Give them a little weapon or something. Could be help.
The Patriots moved Kendrick Bourne to the 1. They moved up Pop Douglas to the 2. If they get T. Higgins, now you're looking at T. Higgins, obviously Kendrick Bourne, and Pop Douglas, as your first top 3 wide receivers. If they do that, Steve, you like that, or you think they should just wait until the offseason? What's your thoughts?
Well, the first thing is Cincinnati willing to give them up because they're not out of the race yet. So teams that are not what's the word I'm looking for? Their season's not over. They're still in it. So would they be willing to trade them? Like if they lost 2 more games and they were 2-6, then maybe you could trade and get them just to have a guy here to help, put some more pop. I wouldn't be opposed to it at all, but I'm just saying, how do we find the teams that are kind of out of it that are willing to, at the trade deadline, dump some guys? And yeah, I mean, we talked about it all offseason. They tried to go after Calvin Ridley, couldn't get it done. They tried to go after Ayuk, couldn't get it done. They're going to have to get somebody. And, can you get the guy here now and make the offense more functional? That would be a huge help, obviously. But I don't see it happening. I don't think that they'd be willing to give up draft capital. Well, is there anybody that they could sign? Or actually, and I heard this. So sorry, Frank. Hold on 1 second. I did hear that most of the wide receivers are not signed in free agency. They're done through trades. So there's got to be somebody that they can identify and make a trade with.
Let me kick back against something you said about Cincinnati. Cincinnati wants to win this year. We know they're still in it, but they've recognized that their defense is one of the poorest in the league. So they're talking to teams right now to get a defensive player and some draft capital to help them, because that's why defense. If you watch any of Cincinnati games, and we all watched one when they game 1. I watched 2 more games after that. Cincinnati has a hop. Their offense is not the problem. Their defense is the problem. So they're talking to teams, at least the news out of Cincinnati and a couple of comics who've told me, in Cincinnati, love the Bengals telling me is that, that the word is that they're talking about moving.
What are they looking for, though?
Who knows?
Cornerback?
Everybody knows that the first thing you want is you want an outside linebacker and a cornerback, and they're getting hurt both.
And
both
so that doesn't help us now. We already traded Judon. That would have been ideal. Trade Judon for T. Higgins, and now it's too late. They don't have another guy that they could trade, that has that kind of caliber in return, unfortunately. They just don't have that.
Unless they swindle Cincinnati and give up Marcus Jones that we have and get T. Higgins back, even though Marcus Jones is nowhere near in that price range. I know
it would be more like Kyle Duggar. I think they'd have to give up in order to do that, and I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that personally now because you don't have Peppers back there.
Yeah, possibly.
The offset. One of those two guys would have been ideal to trade if they were both still here on the roster, but with Peppers being gone, you can't trade Kyle Duggar. He's your best safety now.
The problem is the Patriots don't really have much to trade because right now their defense is horrible.
That's why I asked what they were looking for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could tell you what they said, but I don't know.
And wasn't T. Higgins a headache anyway?
No, T. Higgins is disgruntled because he wasn't getting the ball. His thing was he
wasn't getting paid. He didn't want to sign the franchise contract.
Number one was he wasn't getting the ball the way he wanted, and number two, he was in the contract negotiations in the last year and a half. He thought the deal should have been done before the season started.
Right.
The Patriots have the money. The Patriots are willing to pay anybody, and even the guy who's now on Tennessee, the Patriots, and he's up for
Ridley.
No.
Hopkins,
the wide receiver who we were going to trade.
Hopkins.
Yes.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. Looks like he might get traded back to the Patriots anyway. So those are two names everybody's circling about and talking about right now. And Kev, you said no. You said you said yes. It'd be good for a trade. Steve said yes. I think they should make the trade so they could be ready on all cylinders by this time next year. You know what I mean? But again, who knows what the Patriots are going to do? So now we got to move on because looking at the time.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We got to talk about Christian Barmore real quick. Unless you want to skip it till next week.
No, go ahead.
Breaking news. He got arrested last night at 1:00 during a traffic stop. He had a plate cover over a temporary license plate. He had registration expired. Couldn't produce any new stuff. Kind of got into it with the cops. And, this is another Tyreek Hill kind of thing, except they didn't drag him out of the car. And so, again, we have to wait till everything comes out. They just released the video a couple hours ago. It's 40-something minutes long. I don't know if I'm going to watch all of that, but, it's unfortunate because, here's a guy that is out with blood clots and, has a chance to come back. They also found pot in his car in a cup. And so if that's true, he'll get at minimum probably a 4-game suspension for substance, right? And so here's a guy that's on the verge of possibly coming back from injury, and now we're not going to be able to have him. And I say it's unfortunate because, again, we have to wait for everything to come out right. Innocent until proven guilty. But it's a bad look. And these are the kind of distractions that the team doesn't need. You got Peppers last week. You got this guy now. They need to have this stuff go away. This is what happens to bad teams. And I hope that, this isn't what it looks like. Well,
for those at home, I was going to talk about that next week after I reviewed the video, so I could talk about it, educated. But since Steve brought it up now, we'll circle back on this and after
we'll circle back on it next week after more stuff comes up. But I just think that it's important for people to realize that this is 2 weeks in a row now where the Patriots had an issue, and it's hurting the team, and they can't. The coaching staff can't have these kind of distractions when they're trying to win games, especially when they're going to London.
Oh no, I get it, but we'll talk more about this after.
All right.
Okay. All right. So we're moving on. We talked about the Patriots. We talked about the Celtics. We talked about the Patriots. We talked about the Red Sox. Now we got the Celtics and we got the Bruins. The Bruins are, as Steve put out so fluently, the Bruins are right now 2-2. They have a problem with Florida. Steve, You know what, Steve? I'll let you get the recap on the Bruins in the last week, and then Kevin and I will jump in on our opinion on that. And Kev, you can tell me what you think about the Bruins being 2-2 and having a hard time trying to beat Florida. And after Steve does his recap on telling us what happened in the last week and a half with the Boston Bruins. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, so opening night in Florida, they got waxed. The final score might have been 6-4, but they were getting killed. They were down 5-1, 5-2, 6-2. The defense just couldn't do anything. They were weak. They're weak on defense. Something is off with their defensive positioning. They're giving up goals where the guys are behind the defense and the guys are getting tap-in goals, which is not the goalie's fault. They can't beat Florida. Florida's in their head. When we talking baseball, and Pedro's like, "Who's my daddy?" The Yankees, but that's where the Bruins are with Florida right now. The Bruins are Florida's daddy, and they just can't. They can't outmuscle them. They can't fight them. They can't stop the shots. Jeremy Swayman came back. I would say in the last game, maybe 2 of those goals were his fault. But overall, the team is not playing well defensively, and I don't know what Jim Montgomery can do to fix it. And it's the fourth line, to their credit, the fourth line has been on fire, and it's a good sign for them to contribute, but it's not a good sign that they're your best line. That needs to change. And so they split 4 games they played. They're 2-2, and there's a lot of time to correct it. So I'm not gonna go all negative net on them just yet, but them not being able to clear people out of the front of the net and having those tap-in goals, that's wicked frustrating for me. I wanted them to beef up and start knocking some people out of there. And so it hasn't happened yet. And, it's a long season. Nobody wins a Stanley Cup in October. So let's see how they do. I mean, Swayman has been sharp at times and not sharp at times. And I think that, missing the training camp and so forth could hurt. Could be a detriment.
Steve, Kev, with the Bruins having a hard time being able to beat Florida and everything, you think that's going to be an issue as the season goes on, when they're having a hard time trying to defeat a team that seems to be, as Steve says, that's your daddy. You know what I mean? It's always seems to be.
I was just going to say that they got their number. It's like they know how to irk them. They know how to get under their skin. Like Steve said, they have the dude camping out in front of the net, just like talking mad junk to all these dudes and pushing them out the way, and they're getting away with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the worst part of the last loss they got to Florida is they didn't have their best 2 players, no Kachuk and no Sam Bennett. So they're missing 2 of their top guys and still punk the Bruins out.
You think it's a thing of age? You think it's because the team's Florida's a little older than the Bruins, and that's what it is. And is that what you're thinking, Steve? You think it's because of that? Like big brother, little brother kind of thing?
Probably. Look, they just won the Stanley Cup. They've been on kind of like a 3-year run. Mm-hmm. They've got good coaching. They have their nucleus. I don't think they lost too many guys. And so, as when you can keep most of your guys, and you have the guys who know the system and all of that, the continuity we talk about in other sports, it's a big factor.
So it's a factor like that in hockey too. Continuity is a big factor.
Yeah, but the guys have to gel with each other. So the Bruins do have a lot of new guys on the team. So between the forwards and the defense, I mean, everybody has to get used to each other, and it does take a little time until they can figure out the right combinations.
So with that said, Kev, I'm going to ask you, do you think that the other teams looked at how Florida kicked their behind and are going to try to mimic that moving forward? Or what do you think of it? Or do you think that it's just psychological, that the Bruins just have a psychological thing against Florida? What do you think, Kev?
Well, to the first part, yes, the other teams out seeing that and go, we can get these guys. We can get them. Mm-hmm. So it is a formula that, people are going to capitalize on. I think it's early in the season, obviously, but I think that they're going to have to retool. They're going to have to make a couple of pickups or a trade or something. They brought in, that big defenseman last year, didn't they, Steve?
This year, yep. The big guy I wanted, 6'5", 250.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that once they start kind of gelling together a little bit better, maybe. I mean, they got their goalie. Now they just have to kind of just put things into place and start getting bullied and pushed around.
Steve, does the little brother ever beat the big brother? Does this ever happen?
Oh yeah, it does. It will. It can happen. Listen, if you watch again across sports and use the Celtics when they lost in the finals and the Eastern Conference Finals, it's a learning.
Mm-hmm.
The hockey works the same way. Florida went to the Eastern Conference Finals and lost, and then the next year they won the cup. And so teams that win the cup typically sometimes they have to lose in order to win. We've seen it, time and time again. One thing I do want to mention though is the Bruins was not able to get a scoring winger to make up for the loss of DeBrusque.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're mix matching the lines to try to find the right combination so they can get balanced scoring on the top two lines. And I think that's going to be a process over the next probably month or two. And the other thing I want to mention, and I think I mentioned it before, and I'm probably going to keep mentioning it because their schedule is condensed. They play pretty much almost every other night. I mean, they're playing 13 and 14 games a month.
Wow.
And it's because I think it's February, it's either January or February, they have that 4-team tournament where it's like US, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. And so there's a 2-week break. And so they have to cram all the games in for that tournament. And so, and again, every team's in the same boat. So you could see injuries maybe, or, teams, players wear down a little bit on both ends of that break. So the break will rejuvenate guys and galvanize them, or whatever, at the half after that. But there's still going to be a grind for them in March. They're going to be playing every other night, and then you have to play every other night in the playoffs. And so I'm curious to see, like last year. Remember, the Bruins came out 9-1. They came out like gangbusters still, even with the 3 guys they were missing, Marchand, McAvoy, and Grizzly at the start of the year for a month. Mm-hmm. And they still played well, but this is a little bit different because I think you have so many different new guys now that they have to, and they have to keep guys fresh too and make sure you don't burn them out.
Yeah, right. Well, I think we can say that we'll be all eyes will be looking on the Bruins in the next couple of weeks to see how things shake out and see what they're going to do. I'm looking forward to seeing this too myself, so I could see if Negative Nev is going to come in by. Let's see, this is right almost before Halloween, so around Thanksgiving, Negative Ned's going to stick his rear head up and say, "I told you this is what these guys look like," and we're going to talk about that. Right?
That's probably about right, Frank, because it takes a good 20 or 25 games to give a fair assessment of where they're going to be.
Yeah, I figured that.
So yes, Negative Ned will probably be in rare form by Thanksgiving.
That's what I'm thinking. So speaking of Thanksgiving, we also want to start talking about the Celtics since we're looking at the time. The time is moving. Let's get in our quick minutes and talk about the Celtics. The Celtics played preseason. They came out on fire. I don't know if you guys have been at home, been watching the Celtics. I didn't watch the entire game of the Toronto game last night. I watched bits and pieces. I can say that all the games I watched all the preseason games I watched, whether I watched them live or taped, I did watch all of them, and I see what they're doing. Kevin, I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, but I'm going to throw this out there to you, Kevin. You tell me what you think, and then, Steve, I'm going to ask you, and you can tell me what you think. I think the Celtics are creating something they never had before, where they have more people going off, to the bench and coming back, and they're creating an entire offense of rotating the ball, shooting. Their number one mandate is going to be to shoot first. I'm talking about from the 3-point line, and then move the ball around. But they want guys who are shooters to keep rotating out, to keep everybody fresh, and keep Jaylen Brown, Tatum, obviously Horford's minutes down, and so they can be able to keep these guys fresh. Because I don't know if you watched the preseason games, Kev, but in the preseason games, the guys who are rotating off the bench are playing phenomenal basketball. I've never seen, and I'm saying this for the record, I've never seen the Celtics as a team this deep with this great play ever. And even in the Larry Bird era, that whole 80s and 90s, because you guys remember in the 80s, Larry Bird would have 2 or 3 guys coming off the bench. They'd shoot some couple of threes, but the game has changed. So before I go too far down that path, Kev, do you think this is a great and I'm asking you, Steve, too. Do you think this is a great idea for them to do that, to be able to rotate the players? Because these guys are shooting the lights out. They're shooting 45% to 50% in threes. They're moving the ball better than they ever have. And this is going to sound crazy too, Kev, but they look better than they did last year. It's crazy, but they do. What's your thoughts, Kev? You think they should keep going with this process or change it back up and go what they were playing the same style last year, mixing it up, going? What's your thoughts?
I absolutely love it. We were talking about this last year, Frank.
Yeah, we were.
Them using the bench, digging into that rotation. Because we know who's going to be out on the floor a majority of the time come crunch time. We got to see who the other pieces are that we can kind of plug in there to get somebody a breather, or if someone nicks a finger and they're jammed up real quick, we got to get somebody else in there that's hot and that can shoot. They got shooters. So I think this is going to be interesting. I love the fact that they're delving into that bench. You don't want anybody to get stagnant and feel too comfortable out there. That's my spot is locked. I ain't going nowhere. No, let them have a little bit of fear in the back of their head that is, listen, shooter's right next to me. Money right here can shoot the lights out too. So everybody got to be on their game. I love it.
I think so too. Steve, I'm going to throw this out there to you. I think the Celtics are doing this, in my opinion, besides what I already said. I think they're also doing it because when they get up by 30, they want to stay up by 30. The Celtics was also leading in the league when teams, they go up by 30 or 40. They also led a lot of teams back in the games and cut leads back down to 15 or 10. And then they had to bring the guys back in and keep the game farther enough and everything else. Do you think they're keeping the rotation in higher and the minutes restrictions and the shooters on this to make sure if they're winning by 30, they keep the lead? Or what's your thoughts? You think they're just trying something new for the preseason?
All right. So last year they led the league in threes, right? Because that's the philosophy, which I hate, by the way. I don't like all these threes. I've not been a fan of 50 threes in a game. But that said, I agree with you. I think that the shooting and the shooters that they have is probably the best they've ever had. And so I agree with, keeping the Sam Houses and Pritchards in there. And even the young kid there, the ball kid.
Davidson?
Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Right? Whatever his name is there. Jordan, him.
Yeah.
He made a couple threes the other day. And so, look, I think that it's good so you can keep the starters fresh and have those guys come in. It all depends on how well they can play defensively, because Sam Hauser is not great defensively. He can play a little bit of defense, but when they're up by 30 or whatever, don't wait till it's freaking 6 and then put the starters back. I think that's the part that frustrates me the most. Right? I'm not opposed to having the Houses and Pritchards and whatnot guys come in, but if they're cold and they're not playing good defense, if it's a 20-point lead, don't wait till it's 4 or you gave up the lead at all and then put the starters back. I think that's the one thing I want to see different. And we talked about this last year is, when you have your foot on the gas, you keep it there. But I will say maybe they're in a spot now where they're most comfortable with the rotations and they are allowing themselves to. And I got a little aggravated. I did watch a little of the game last night. I didn't watch the whole game. But there was a few times where they came down the floor and they just shot it up and they missed. And I'm like, oh, here we go again with this crap. But then there was other times when they were coming down and they were draining them. And I'm like, all right, well, this is probably how it's going to be again. And, again, I hate it, but they're gonna be averaging 40 to 50 threes in a game. And, when they go in, it's great, when they knock down 25 of them or whatever. But when they hit, 12 out of 48 or something, that's going to irk me. Look, it's a long season again, too. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think that their ability to adjust last year. Let me get this out real quick because you guys watch basketball more than I do, and I'm just from the outside looking in. They changed from all the threes, and they started going more inside. Frank, you talked about it, right? So if they do that later on in the year, I'll be happy with that because they're going to get 55 to 60 wins probably in their sleep, right? It's all how they come out in the playoffs and adjust, and not just rely on threes to beat everybody. They have to be able to adjust, and I think they will.
Well, after the first 3 games of the preseason, the Celtics had at least 65 points after the first two. Going into the half, they had at least 65 to 70 points going into the half. After the first 3 games, they had at least 65 to 70 points going into the half. The last game last night was the only time, but then again, they weren't rotating as much.
But they still got 67 points in the first half yesterday. 67.
Yeah.
Listen, we're seeing something we're not used to seeing, right? Them getting 65 to 70 points in a half is insane.
It's insane. But they're also shooting 60, 50, and 63s, you know what I mean, per game. Kevin, here's another question for you. I'm going to throw this out there. Devontae Davidson, who was the point guard, who played phenomenal this preseason. He was on the Celtics last year. He was the rookie last year. They drafted him before and everything else. He's playing phenomenal. He hit that big 3 to bring him into OT. Actually, to help them win. They were supposed to win that game last night. He hit the big 3. They were up by 1, but he's been playing phenomenal. And also Lonnie Walker, who played the last 2 games, former New York, former Brooklyn Net, former Los Angeles Laker. Do you think he should make the team? And I'm asking this because of the simple fact they want him to come off the bench, and when they see Jaylen Brown, you know what I mean, they want him to be the scorer, the slasher, because he can do both. Problem is, if they put him on the team and he's on the roster come Tuesday night when the Celtics play the Knicks opening night, if he's on the roster, it's an automatic $10 million cap hit. So they can put him on the main team, the team, the G League team. They can put him on the G League team and not get the hit and keep bringing him up on 10 days thing, or they can keep him on the active roster. But the Celtics, obviously, they're already over the cap. They're already way over the cap. So, question, Kev, do you think they should and just say, we're over the cap anyway, or should they be worried about that $10 million cap hit and have him sit on the bench? And what's your thoughts, Kev?
Well, I kind of felt like they already tipped their hand about that when they said, we might have to send Lonnie back or send him down, to Maine. We're going to have to do that. So, I mean, the fact that the kid JD is playing with a little bit of a lot more enthusiasm. He's got a little bit more bounce in his step. I just saw an article about him where they were saying this kid is bouncy. He is jumping out the gym on some spots. So if he can kind of hone that energy that he has and those ups and the hops or whatever, if he can hone that to kind of fit into the scheme of how the Celtics play, I don't think that we'd need Lonnie.
Frank, can I ask you a question?
Hold on. No, go ahead, finish your thought, Kev. Go ahead.
But I like Lonnie. I think that he would be like another Drew Holiday in there if we kept him.
Okay, floor is yours, Steve.
Question for you. I was reading something about that exemption 10, whatever that contract is he has, where he can be sent down. If they decided to keep him and eat the $10 million, does that hamper them at the trade deadline at all from trying to, let's say they needed a center. Let's say Tillman goes down or Luke Cornett goes down while Porzingis is out, or even when Porzingis comes back. Does that hamper them from being able to make another move?
Let me answer this because you jumped in before I was going to say what I was going to say. My question to you, it's going to answer your question. Okay. All right. Here's what I think the Celtics are going to do, and we can look back on it. But I've been reading Celtics rumors. I've been reading NBA rumors and stuff like that. I'm not sure if either one of you guys know, but the Miami Heat team is disgruntled. People are very upset over there. Bam Adebayo is looking to be out. The Celtics could, this is going to sound crazy, but the Celtics could sign Lonnie Walker and take Quaid, what's this kid's name?
Quaid.
They could keep him on the roster and then trade both of them to the Miami Heat for Bam Adebayo, which is what a lot of people on the trade boards are saying right now. So I think the Celtics are going to keep him, but I also think they're going to make a trade, some kind of trade, so they can get another center in there who they can. Now, maybe they'll be happy with Quaid because Quaid is doing really good. Maybe they'll be happy, but I think they're thinking long term instead of short term. I think they're thinking Horford is great for now, but we need to be able to move some pieces because we have too many pieces, and not too many NBA teams have too many pieces. And I think they're going to be concerned about the play as the season goes on. Now, whether I'm right or wrong, we'll see. I know this: Bam Adebayo is not going to be in the Miami Heat much longer. I know that for a fact. I don't know, and it's about money. You know what I mean? It's a money issue. But I also know he's really best friends with Jason Tatum. They talk all summer. They hang out and everything else. And maybe he's willing to take a team friendly deal to be moved. But that's what these boards are saying. The NBA teams are saying. So, Steve, do you see the Celtics making a crazy trade, or what's your thought process? And then we got to
make that trade. I mean, if I could do a cartwheel without hurting myself, I would. I mean, that would be phenomenal if if Brad Stevens pulled off Neemias Queta and Lonnie Walker for Bam Adebayo, and even if they had to give up a first or second round pick,
they would have to do that too. They would have to do that.
Part of it. Let's say you had to give up your first round pick because you're going to be picking near the bottom anyway.
Right.
So what? I mean, that would be unbelievable. I would sign that off right now. I wouldn't even hesitate.
Yeah, I think I would do that too. I think I would do that phenomenal. And I don't know why I've told Kev this for a long time. Kev, haven't I not said this to you for years? I see Bam Adebayo as a Celtic before his career is over. I just been saying it for years. Maybe it's a trade with Bam Adebayo comes and they do it for Jaylen Brown. Maybe that's kind of trade that they might end up doing. Not this year, but the Celtics have to do something by this time next year because they can't keep Tatum and Brown unless one of those two or both of them take some kind of contract, fixture. You know what I mean? They just can't keep both of those heavy contracts because they're trying to sell the team. They're trying to move away from places. Right now, the Celtics is the most expensive roster too. So they got to do something. It won't stay like that after this year. And everything kicks in at the end of this year. So, all right. So, Steve, you put up some poll questions. I want to get to the poll questions. We got to get this stuff moving. Do you want to do the poll questions from last week that I missed, or you want to jump into this week?
You know what? Do I have those? I don't know if I have those.
Last week's or just all right? Just go,
I don't have last week's. I only have this week's.
All right, so let's jump into the first.
This week's was how are you feeling about Drake Maye's first start on Sunday? He was the spark they needed, 67%. He's going to get killed, 33%, and put Jacoby Brissett back in 0. Nobody was in favor of that for obvious reasons. So that's it. That's it for the poll question.
Okay.
The predictions from last week. Obviously, Frank, you weren't here.
Yeah.
Kev's was that Buffalo was going to beat the Jets.
Easy.
Ding, ding, ding.
Easy.
It wasn't actually that easy considering I watched the first half of that game.
I watched the whole game. Yeah, it was still easy.
I didn't watch the whole game because it was already, whatever it was, and it was already bedtime. I was like, you know what? I'm not staying awake for this.
DVR. Keep going.
I don't need to do that. I don't need to DVR Aaron Rodgers. He's a donkey. All right, mine is. I said, excuse me. I said Drake Maye would get 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and the Patriots would score 20 points. Ding, 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 ding. I finally got another one right. I'll put that in my back pocket. But, of course, then I had to revert back to Washington General territory with my next prediction, which was Swayman was going to start against Montreal and lose 3-2. Wrong. Back to being wrong. So that didn't happen. They actually ended up beating Montreal. Okay. That's all I had. That's it for the predictions. The only other thing is the football picks. No picks from Kev again, 0-14. And Frank couldn't get him in. So
14, yeah. I'm
0-14. I got actually I forgot about Thursday and Sunday morning, so I didn't pick those 2 games, but I did pick the other 12, and I was 9-3.
You know, the funny thing is, I looked at the picks before the thing, and I meant to send them to you. I just didn't have the time. I would have had 2 games wrong. That would have been my best week, maybe 3. I would have had 2 games wrong, maybe 3. It was my best week because people who were going to win, supposed to win, I picked. Kev, I'm gonna throw it out to you right now.
Know.
Huh?
I said we'll never know.
Exactly. I'll throw it out to you, Kev. What's your predictions for the upcoming week? Anything, any sport, of the 4 sports, or you can just do anything, any sport. What you think? Kev, what you got? When we come back
coming up within the next week.
Yep. Between now and time we
I had something, but for the week coming, I don't think it's going to happen within the week. So, that being said, I'm going to say that the Patriots playing Jacksonville, they're going to get a big win.
Who, the Patriots? No, they're supposed to. Jacksonville's a bum. Jacksonville, believe it or not, is worse than the Patriots. They, you know, I think they're gonna get the number 1 pick in the draft because they're imploded. Okay, Steve, give me your prediction. Is that your only prediction, Kev? Is that your only prediction before I keep moving? Or you keep going?
Yeah, I'll keep it safe.
Okay. Steve, you got a couple predictions for me? Or one?
Yeah, I got 2.
Okay.
Not obviously not popular. Jeremy Swayman gets hurt this week somewhere along the line. He's gonna get some kind of injury, leg, groin, something. Just because that's how it goes. Just because that's how it goes around here in this town.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
It's bad, right? And then I think Jacksonville's going to beat the Patriots because they stayed in London for the week. They didn't come back, and this is like their 3rd game over there. Those are like home games to them, even if they suck. And they got creamed against Chicago. So the Patriots defense they're going to have a habit of making teams look good, and so. I'm not going to do the score like I did last week. I'll skip that, but I think Jacksonville's going to beat the Patriots. That's what I think.
Okay. My predictions go number 1 in this order. Number 1, I think Mac Jones is going to get the start with Jacksonville.
Oh my God!
I'm just throwing it out.
Is Trevor Lawrence hurt?
No, I think they're going to pull him. I think they're going to have Mac Jones start.
That would be insane.
It would be hilarious. But I got a couple predictions. Mac Jones is going to start, and the Patriots are going to still beat Jacksonville. I think the Bruins are going to go on a losing streak. Get ready for that. Get Bruins a major losing streak. And I think we're going to see another midseason trade with the wide receiver, and we're going to see another coach fired. And if I had to guess right now, I think we're going to see a trade that Kansas City is going to be in the mix of some big trade. They're going to be something because they're in a bad need of a wide receiver. They want a big run. And if I had to bet a coach to get fired, I would say possibly Jacksonville's coach get fired after they come back. Because lately, it seems like whenever teams go over to Europe and they come back, their coaches, if they don't perform.
I'll tell you what, Frank, you could be right. Because if they lose to the Patriots over there, I think the owner will have a conniption fit.
Yeah, I think he will.
And I think he's already on the hot seat. But that would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville's coach is going to get fired coming back. So my predictions are Bruins losing streak, Mac Jones starts, Patriots win. What else did I say? And another coach get fired. Coach get fired, and we're going to see another big trade. You know, I don't know if it's Kansas City.
Wide receiver trades. Probably Kansas City would be that'd be a safe bet because, like you said, they're depleted. Yeah,
they're depleted, and their schedule's getting a little bit harder. They're going to start focusing on, obviously, we got to just make a run up to the playoffs. We got to figure some stuff out, and
What if they got T. Higgins?
It's possible because they move some pieces. It's fine. If they get T. Higgins, they're going to repeat. They're going to do a triple on us. They're going to, if they get him. I just don't see them go.
Let me just throw this out there real quick.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be funny if Jacksonville would have picked up Belichick?
Yeah, I heard that earlier. Actually, it was on one of the TV shows.
Mac Jones' coach.
Yeah, but here's the funny part.
No, you know what he would do? The first move, he would cut him.
Yeah, it's the first thing.
His very first move would be Mac Jones cut.
Yeah,
if he took over Jacksonville, he'd get rid of him.
He would make that. He would do that. He would do that before his coffee got cold.
Actually, you know what he would do? He would do it before he actually signed the contract to become the coach.
Yeah, he would do that. He'd be like, he needs to go.
That would be funny.
But honestly, I see Belichick becoming the Dallas Cowboys coach before anything. I think I see them. I really see him. And honestly, I see if the Cowboys lose 2 more games, like the way they just lost this past week, they will definitely fire McCarthy. He's gone.
No kidding. Yeah, that's
he's
right.
Gone. And if you make a midseason change and you have the best coach of all time sitting on the sidelines doing nothing except commentating, that's a no-brainer. Jerry Jones does that. You know what I mean? I see that happening immediately. I think. But I hope he doesn't do that. I hope he doesn't go coach the Cowboys. I hope he doesn't, because the Cowboys, the coaching is not the problem with the Cowboys. It's the
Jerry Jones is the problem with the Cowboys. We all know that already. I would never go there.
He's the number one problem. But they have a lot of injuries, and it's the players. They don't have a lot of great players in these positions that they think they do. You know what I mean? They really don't. So that's. I hope he doesn't go there because Belichick is going to keep continuing to lose if he goes there. You know what I mean? I want Belichick to go somewhere where he can continue to win, so they can prove to a lot of people that, hey, it wasn't just Tom Brady. It was Tom Brady and me. That's what I want.
What about Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think he should go Philly too. Yeah, if he goes to Philly, they'll turn everything around really quick. Philly's problem is discipline. You know what I mean? Discipline on plays, play calling. That's it. They got the talent all across the. To Philly they got a lot of talent. They got all the players they need. And Belichick loves a running game, and he'd go over there and have Saquon Barkley, please. That'd be a shoe in for them to get to the Super Bowl. That's my thought. But anyway, looking at the time, it's time to roll out of here. You guys want to have any last thoughts before we roll up in here? Any more last predictions? Anything? Going once, going twice, going 3 times? Anything?
Belichick's gonna get a job
When?
within these next 2 weeks. He'll have a job.
Okay. Besides the job he already has, you mean a coaching?
Oh
job?
yeah, no, he's gonna get a coaching job.
Okay.
No more my face for Bill.
Yeah, no more.
No. He's itching. He's looking at this and talking mad junk about all these other. And he did that. He's a salty old man.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Steve, you got any last thought you want to
No,
throw out?
I'm good.
All right, that's the show. Show's called Boston Straight Shooters. We talk about the Boston Celtics, the Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox, the New England Patriots. It's interesting all the time because the sports is interesting. I'm Frank. I hope see you guys next week. That's my other co-host is Steve, also known as Negative Ned. That's Kevy Kev. You guys take us out of here. Let's roll out.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the voting in the polls, the comments, and so forth. And make sure to check us out on our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you guys next week.
peace.